All right, so this is a bit of a controversial question. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
All right.
Yeah.
It's an open floor, man.
Yes. But I'm asking because I respect your opinion. I want to hear your opinion on this. My question is, from your perspective, what has been either the positive or the negative effects of the so-called gamer?
Of course.
It's about ethics in game journalism.
You want to help me with this one? I can start. I don't know. I want to keep this really short because I actually don't think it's worth a great deal of time. So here's a quick thing. I have seen the negative effects of gaming in a lot of games with good stuff for months and months. I've been out talking to politicians, talking to journalists, talking to people in the mainstream, trying to convince them to be interested in this culture, to not think of us just as people who run and gun, right? Not to think of us as the trench coat mafia and all this sort of thing. And then all of a sudden I started getting emails of you said all this stuff to us and we started to use it all our time, and now I'm hearing about these gamers threatening to rape people and all this terrible. So it's just done a ton of damage to us in terms of public image. It's fractured our community, right? We all love games. Games are about joy. We should be playing together instead of being at each other's throats. And I really do. I mean, I fundamentally think that I did a lot of research on the Gamergate stuff, and I waded through all that, and I went point by point, and a lot of the stuff is like horrible misinformation. On the Gamergate stuff, it's clearly being manipulated by people who have a vested interest in it, right? Like, who are the leaders of the Gamergate movement, right? It's Alex Macros from the city of Vista, and we're really obligated not to talk about it. So that should say something. It's TotalBiscuit, who, on some sense, I love, but here's a guy who's calling out for journalism ethics. He takes huge amounts of money to endorse games, right? Like, if you guys haven't looked up something, look up an article on Gamma Sutra by the guys who made Guns N' Roses, talking about how they paid him $20,000 to endorse their game. Right? I mean, that to me is way worse ethics, right? You want to talk about ethics in journalism, get the money out of it, right? This is the real problem. And so, like, point after point, it just like all falls apart. But it's all manipulated by people who either want something or want to deflect from some of the stuff that they're doing. So I mean, I think it's worth our time. I think it's done damage to our community. I think it's done damage to reputation of the community. I think it is the last dying screams of people who are losing their power. I've said this before, right? The KKK was at its height after World War II. The biggest it ever got was in the middle of desegregation. And I think it's a lot of people who thought for years saw the internet as their own territory that they could rule by shouting the loudest. And we're finally starting to civilize the internet. We've seen it on YouTube and Reddit. I mean, and even 4chan, right? Started to moderate, become a community, a society. And this is not a censorship issue. This is not. You want to talk about free speech? You have more free speech because we have laws, right? Most of us would have some strong dude beating the shit out of us and telling us we can't say anything against him in a place where we had no laws. And we're starting to add laws to the internet. We're starting to add rules to the internet. And it's going to make a place where more voices get heard. And this is the last screams of a group that's losing their power. I want to move on from Gamergate. I think that's. Do you have anything you want to say from Gamergate?
Nope.
Is that a non-Gamergate comment?
Yes, it is.
All right, move on.
Okay, so changing the subject. First of all,